You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Hello, this is Mike Lodge. I'm glad you're here. Listen, you guys are going to hear this over and over and over again because I want you to get prepared for the economy that's just about ready to hit us hard. And I'm predicting that it's going to hit us hard. I've been pretty good at about predicting these things. But listen, we've got some inflationary issues that is hitting us and are going to hit us even greater. First of all, I need to talk to you about inflation. And so I want to kind of go over, because there's a lot of individuals out there who have never, ever hit inflationary times. They've never gone through this experience in their life before. They don't even know what inflation is really all about or how it's going to affect them. So let's kind of give a good definition of what inflation is. And the best one that really describes it all is that inflation is the decline of your purchasing power. In other words, prices have gone up tremendously that the amount of money that you currently earn does not cover all these inflationary prices as they go up. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why they go up. Higher taxation, government spending shoots it right up. So when you hear Congress talking about this $3.4 trillion spending bill, well, that's being spent on a lot of things that don't need to be spent on, and it creates inflation. And I'll go through that in just a little bit. As a good example right now, I don't know if you know who Kroger is. Kroger is one of the largest grocery store chains. They own a whole bunch of names underneath that name of Kroger. Anyway, it's a large grocery store chain, and they're all over the place. They are saying this morning, they say that inflation is running hotter than they had anticipated. And expect grocery prices, that's what you and I pay at the grocery store, to rise another 2 and 3%. 2 to 3% over the second half of this year. So that means that October, November, December, your food prices are going to go up. And of course, all of these stores are having to pass this cost over to the consumer, which is you. And that creates a problem. That means that you do not have enough money coming in to support the expanded cost of buying groceries. It's a big deal. And what causes that to happen? Well, fuel prices have gone up. Remember, every time that you transfer goods and services down the street, you're spending gas. Those gas prices have gone up, which means that they're paying not only higher gas prices, but they're also paying higher fuel taxes. So that creates the cost of the price of our food to go up. The other issue is that a lot of truckers have gone out of business. During this lockdown, a tremendous amount of truckers said, I can't afford to do trucking anymore. I'm going to have to shut down until it's a time that I can come back into the industry. But when you've got your high cost of gasoline and fuel taxes, and on top of that, insurance costs have gone up. So we have a supply issue. And the supply issue is that we don't have enough truckers to provide the transportation for all these supplies. So what happens? It goes up because inflation is created by these types of circumstances. Now, the other issue is that the Congress is currently proposing that we go from, on the corporate tax rate, 21% up to 26%. Okay? Now, that's what Congress is saying. Biden wants it to go up to like 34%. We're not quite sure exactly what's going to happen. Listen, when we were going through this with Obama, and I've said this many times before. I was a member of 2 Chamber of Commerce. I was a member of Orlando, Florida Chamber of Commerce, and I was a member of the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. The common thread during that time, because we didn't know what was going to come down from the President Obama on healthcare mandates and salary mandates and all this other sort of things, businesses put on hold hiring anybody. They put on hold buying any capital goods. They put on hold anything about expanding their business because they were so unsure of what was going to happen. Well, we're in that same boat now. I have a gut feeling that you hear about all these companies saying that they have all these openings, but they're not going to hire for these openings because they don't know what it's going to cost them down the road. We don't know because now they're talking about bringing back this Obamacare mandate again also. So we have all of these talks of higher corporate income tax, business income taxes. We have minimum wage issues. We have insurance issues. We have gasoline tax. We have spending out of Congress. We have all of these things that we don't know what's happening in government. It's so unclear at the moment. It's a bad situation. And we should not be in this type of situation. When we see, as just you and I, we live on a budget. And it is a shoestring budget. And that shoestring sometimes is cut in half on months. We have to live within these budgets. We have to live within what's happening out there in the world. So when we start seeing taxes go up, when we start seeing grocery stores and everything, we're going to have to raise up our taxes. We're going to have inflation. And that inflation affects us. Which means that we are going to be put in a situation where we are really going to have to watch our budgets. If you have a budget. If you don't have a budget, I recommend that you have one. In fact, in this podcast, look at the meat of the notes on the podcast. I'll put a link in there so that you can go and get a free budget. And you can pull it up. You can use it. It's in Excel. It does. I don't even know if it has my name on it. I don't know if it does. It doesn't matter. But just use it and start preparing your budget. And it's very simple. You put in your budget, and then you put in your actuals at the end of each month. I tell you, you need to do this so you know exactly how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. And if you guys are going into debt, I am going to slap you silly. Because you can't go into debt. Debt is even worse because now you have higher interest rates that create even a larger problem for you. So I want you to understand that we are going through a very serious, and I use that word, serious, inflationary time. And we are going to see companies fail. We are going to see companies cut back on their hiring. We are going to see companies just pausing until we know exactly what Biden is up to and what the Congress is up to. We're going to be put on pause. I have literally gone through all my expenses, and I've cut out everything I don't that I don't need. Cut out Hulu. I cut out all of the fun stuff. I've basically cut out because it was costing me money. But I've kept everything that evolves around my business because I need to be focused on what is driving or pulling money into my business. But I have control over my expenses at the same time. So each and every single one of us need to do that. Inflation is a tough situation when you've got a Congress that is out of control on spending and out of control on wanting to raise more taxes during a time where the economy is just barely making it back, and now they want to stall it and pause it and put it on hold because they need more revenue to pay for all of the stuff that they've spent. Now, we've got to fight back on this because we can't allow Congress any longer to be able to spend so much money. So we're going to have to curb them in some way. We're going to have to be very aggressive on dealing with members of Congress because this spending is nonsense. The spending is out of hand. That $200 million check that's going to Nancy Pelosi so she can fix a park in her neighborhood has got to stop. This kind of foolishness has got to end. And I don't care how much work she puts in. I don't care how much time she puts in at the Congress. I don't care. $200 million for a park doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff if you look in that. By the way, in that spending bill, there's also legislation in there, and I want you to know this very, very clearly, that Congress is willing to give the IRS power over your bank accounts, which means that they can look into your bank accounts at any given time. Anything that's over, if it was 500 or 600, I can't remember, but anything over that goes in and that goes out, the IRS can monitor. Why do they need to do that? Because they want to make sure that you are reporting everything 100% to the government. They want their tax money. So they're coming down on you who are trying to operate your businesses as well as you possibly can in this type of economy. But now there's more regulation on what goes in and what comes out of your bank accounts. And they're going to monitor it. And it's going to have to tie up to whatever you're putting on your financial statements. And it goes on. And then you also have the mileage tax. That's still under consideration by Buttigieg, who wants to charge you per mile for a road tax on how many miles did you drive per year. So you can see that we have a Congress and a government at the moment that is really tremendously out of control and nutso. But you and I, we can make some changes. And when the election time comes along in 2022, which is next year, just a few months away, we can make some changes. And those individuals who are out there spending your money, kick them to the curb. Because this is nonsense. You and I are being affected by their spending habits. Now, what do you do currently when you have businesses who are practicing woke policies, who are discriminating or dividing what is good, who are good and who are bad, who are vaccinated, who are not vaccinated? When you have political woke companies, remember, they are no longer focused on providing you with a good or service that is priced that you can afford. Anytime that you have politics mixed in with your business, it corrupts your business so that you're not looking 100% at revenue streams and how to work better with your clients. No, instead you're worried about all of this wokeness that's out there, and you lose focus, and you create conflict within your company because there are individuals within your company who do not agree with you. So what happens? They don't know who to talk to. They don't know who they're working for. They do not know what the objective of the company is any longer because now you have mixed in politics which corrupts a business. So what happens? You've wasted a whole bunch of money because people don't know what to do. And that creates a conflict, and conflict costs companies money because now you've got people sitting there just collecting a paycheck, not being creative anymore because they don't know what they can and cannot say. The biggest issue in any company is conflict. The biggest cost of anything is conflict when it involves your employees and when it involves your consumers, because if you offend a consumer, you've just lost business. Look what happened to Coca-Cola. They offended a whole bunch of people, and they lost a whole bunch of business. Now they've become quiet. If your company is out there streaming videos and making comments, political comments about political issues within their state that have nothing to do with their business, you'll create conflict. And that conflict is going to cost you greatly in wasted employee time and offending consumers that no longer want to do business with you. You see, it's like this. When you go to a house for dinner, there are two things you do not talk about: politics and religion, right? You've always heard that. And those individuals who allow that to happen, there's always conflict within that house. Well, the same thing happens with businesses. You see, you forget that you spend the majority of your time at that business. You're sitting in that same chair every day. You're working with the same people every day. But once a conflict arises, even if it is created by management, becoming political, you're going to have conflict, and that is going to cost your company a lot of money and your reputation. Politics corrupts. Politics corrupts so greatly that it does no good for any company to get involved. Now, if you want to talk about in dealing with things in your local community, like putting a tutoring program together or donating money into the local boys and girls clubs or providing food outlets for the homeless, do that. But once you get involved in these national political disasters, you just are creating more conflict. I'll say it again over and over and over again. Almost every single day I say this. Politics corrupts your business. It creates conflict. And that drives up It drives up costs, wasted money because of conflict, of people not knowing what to do. You have got to realize that politics is so corrupt that it can change a whole drive of a company. And this has got to stop, because this politics nonsense, this wokeness, is creating too much conflict. Look what is happening with nurses and military people. They have these mandates going on, and it is creating conflict. People are walking off the job. People are no longer supportive of their corporation. Now you have a we against them situation. Instead of working together in the healthcare industry and providing healthcare for everyone, no matter if they're vaccinated or unvaccinated, or if they've got a long nose or a short nose. It doesn't matter. Everybody gets treated the same under healthcare. But we've seemed to have forgotten it, because what has happened is that a virus has become politicized and now has created wokeness within a company, and politics within a company or a healthcare organization downgrades that medical care or downgrades that company of making a profit any longer. Because now no one trusts them. No one knows where they stand. Because they certainly don't stand for the consumer, and they certainly don't stand for their employees. Even though they make this big gesture, yeah, we'll move you all out of Texas. Those people moved to Texas because they didn't want to pay any higher taxes. So where are you going to move them to? So we've got these CEOs who have become these leaders of nonsense, leaders of wokeness, and wokeness doesn't solve anything. So here's the deal, is that we keep talking about all these vaccines, but we never talk about the care of the individual who gets COVID. And we don't have the proper protocols in to literally take care of these patients. And no one seems to be focusing on that. And if we don't focus on the treatment, because obviously if we look at it, the vaccine just is not up to par. In fact, the CDC, there are individuals who are wanting to resign from the CDC who are in charge of looking at these extended vaccines and getting a shot again. They said, no, the White House is wrong on this, and they are willing to resign. We've got all of this mixed messaging that's out there. So listen, I'm telling you, do what's best for you, not what anybody else is telling you. Do what is best for you. You make that decision. So let's get back to inflation. So over the next few months, September, October, November, and December, we're going to see higher costs in our food, higher costs at the drugstore, higher costs at the pump. We are going to see these costs increase. What is your you should be asking yourself, what is your financial position at the moment to hit this head on? if you have not sat down and looked at your money coming in and your money going out, and you know that prices are going to go up and it's going to put a kick, it's going to kick your budget, it's going to kick your finances. And let me tell you, what happens when your finances get stressed? Families get stressed. So we can do something, and that is sitting down and doing our budgets and figuring out exactly how much money that we have left over. If you don't have any money left over, you're going to be in trouble. Because what's going to happen is that it's going to create a financial stress in your life. So listen, this is my dog. I've got to go. This is Mike Lodge. I've got to go because my dog is being nasty out there. And it's time that you and I focus on our budgets, focus on our finances, because inflation is going to start hitting us even harder. September, October, November, and December. This is Mike Lodge. Listen, if you like my podcast, if you like my vlogs and blogs, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Again, that's www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. If you have a business question or a budgeting question or a dispute or conflict situation, or maybe you even having a situation at your office at the moment that you don't know how to talk about this mandate that's going to affect you, talk to me and I'll give you some suggestions. But listen, this is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. Everybody go out and have a great day. Inflation, it's a real bugger, man. It's a real bugger. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye. This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. Talk with you soon. Bye.